I've got some overripe bananas here that I have to use ASAP. So how about we make some banana bread? Now I'm gonna swap out the wheat flour for some almond flour because I absolutely love the texture and the flavor that it gives. And as a bonus, it makes the banana bread gluten-free. Of course, feel free to use all-purpose flour instead. I just want to try this. For this to come out good though, make sure that your bananas are overripe. The starch turns into sugar, they become more sweet and more intense in banana flavor. Now you're gonna need probably between 4 and 6 bananas, depending on the size. You basically need around 500 grams. These are pretty big, I'm gonna use 4 and I'm pretty sure these are more than 500 grams. But that's fine because my banana bread is just gonna taste more banana-y. I've got them all in this deep plate, and what I'm gonna do next is mash them with a fork. A potato masher also works fine, but yeah, just keep going at them until they get nice and wet and shiny looking. Ripe bananas are also softer and easier to smush. Also, don't try to make this super smooth. Keeping it chunky also means we're gonna get these nice pockets of banana. Now, before we move on, I'm gonna prepare the form. I've got an aluminum loaf pan that I'm just gonna give a spray with the oil. I'm also gonna line it with some parchment paper that I measured to size. I'm gonna leave the ends sticking out because afterwards I can use them to pull out the bread from the form. Okay, that's out of the way. Now for the dry ingredients. I've got 300 grams of almond flour. To that, I'm gonna add 10 grams of baking powder and a big pinch of salt. And now all I wanna do is roughly mix everything together. Okay, that takes care of our dry ingredients. Now to the wet. Into a bigger bowl, I'm gonna drop 120 grams of softened butter. It's up to you if you wanna use salted or unsalted, but it's important that it's soft because we're gonna beat it together with some sugar. 220 grams to be precise. I'm also gonna add a little bit of dry vanilla. Now I'm gonna start this nice and easy with the fork, just so I can get all the sugar mixed in with the butter. And it doesn't fly all over the place when I go in with the mixer. Once I get to this stage, I'm gonna crack in 3 eggs, one at a time. And I'm gonna mix these in. Last egg. And I'm gonna keep beating this until it becomes nice, light, fluffy, and silky smooth. This step is important because we're gonna incorporate a lot of air into the batter, which is gonna give us a lighter banana bread. I'm also gonna add 75 grams of buttermilk and all of my banana pulp. I'm just gonna fold everything together now and add my dry ingredients. Now carefully fold these in. In fact, before I do, I'm gonna also add 150 grams of dark chocolate chips. I'm just gonna tuck these ends under the pan so that they're not in the way. And in goes our batter. This is good. One last thing I want to do is sprinkle some sugar on top. That's gonna give it an extra layer of texture. I'm gonna give it a little tap and off it goes to the oven. I'm baking it at 160°C or 320°F for around an hour and 15 minutes or until golden brown and a toothpick comes out clean. Now we have to let this cool completely for at least an hour before we can cut into it. I've had this resting on a wire rack, so I'm just gonna transfer it on the board now. And let's cut into this thing. Now, this has a very different texture than banana bread made with wheat flour. It's denser, but at the same time is much more moist and delicate. It's almost like marzipan, and it forms these lovely crumbly crusts. If you're into that, this is your jam. Now, let's give this a try. The almond flour is where it's at. You know how sometimes banana bread, especially the next day, gets a little bit gloopy? You don't get that here with the almond flour. In fact, it's a lot more like cake than bread. If you have some ripe bananas, go make this. Roll out!